One of those mornings. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good morning. We are in Tzadi Aleph. Hilchos Basar B'Cholov. Sif Beis. Kol midi debai hadacha. Anything which needs hadacha. Kigoin maker midin. Kigoin haniach basar heter tzonin bekar shel iser tzonin. In the case where you put a cold piece of cheese, I don't know, meat, whatever it is, in food in a plate or a bowl of iserton that was used for iserton. And for example, you have a treif bowl and you put in a piece of meat in there. Also, you shouldn't do that. Dilma ochel hadacha, because maybe you're going to forget to go ahead and do hadacha, and you'll eat it without doing hadacha. So we say don't if something treif, you put it away, or some whatever it is, you can't put it in there, even if you want to say, I'll just for a second, I'll wash it off. The dafka mavushel, the love orche bahadacha, and dafka is something which was already cooked, because you're not going to go ahead, and wash off something cooked already, it'll ruin it. Well, midi, the orche bahadacha, but something which is you normally do wash off, basar chai, it's stuff that you normally do wash off. If it's basar chai, it's not didn't have melicha, then that's definitely okay. Not sure if if any basar chai, the shot over here is that since it won't ruin it, or it's just you do normally wash it. Like you buy in the store now raw chicken, and you put it in a treif plate. Is that okay? Because generally it's normal to wash it off. But then it doesn't. Since then, I didn't see anyone talk about it. Since then, if it was raw, it's before melicha. So I don't know. It's clean. It's clean. It's a clean plate and cold, but you still need to do hadacha. We'll get into it. Could be if it's. We'll see in a second. The could be there is a difference. Haga v'dafka davar sheish b'lachluchis ksas. This is only talking about something that has a little bit of moisture to it. Well, davar yavish mamish, something which is completely dry. Im lo bala hakli lach b'tzonein muter laniach davar yavish b'hadacha klal. If this cleave is only balua from tzonein, meaning there's a cereal bowl, right? And the guy uses treif milk as a or he uses for cold milk, cold cereal, whatever it is. So then you are allowed to put in a davar yavesh without hadacha. The problem is if you put in something which is moist. Now no, but the Chamim required hadacha. So you only if it's dry, you don't need to do any hadacha. If it's moist, so it's not that it's not bolea. It's not bolea. It's just a din. You have to do hadacha. It's a bit of a harchaka, whatever it is. Akopanim there's a few different nakudos which the Chavos and Aruch Shulchan discuss that there's an afkamina and other achronim if the tzoni we're talking about is something which is if we're talking about a case of where it's tzoni and it's something he used if he used on a consistent basis, then it's a different din. Tzoni means he put in some something treif, whatever it is. So that's okay, but if it's something, if it's a plate which is used consistently for tzonein, I don't think it's a difference between cheres and not. Then it has the same din as a plate which was used for roseach. If you have a bowl, it's the same din because if a person uses it constantly for, let's say, treif milk or whatever he put in there, then we say it is bolea something in the kli, and if you put something in which is a bit moist, then it could be rechoshish that it could be there is some sort of plita or some of some sort. Or or else the other thing is the gzera b'dilon yishtamushe b'roseach. If you start using the other probably more mistaver is that since you start using a treif plate or a treif bowl, you're going to forget that it's treif. You're just going to start using it with hot stuff as well. It's going to get washed in the dishes, put away, whatever. Don't use it. But if it was just used for toning, like chad pami, something like a here and there, so the shach says just clean it, wipe it down, whatever, simple cleaning, and you're fine. I think it's Ramah, I think it's in Torah Chatas, says you need shifshuv. Just like by a knife, you need neitza to get off the shamnunis. So if a person used the bowl for something, on the kavua, for roseach or for tzonein, so rechoshish that there's a bit of shamnunis, so you can't stick a bowl in the karka, but shifshuv, scrubbing it with a steel wool or scotch or whatever it is, scrubbing it well would in this case be a malkum shifshuv, and then that's when it would be. Then it would be mutter. Oh, do you still no? So the most talking about okay, if it's sonim bear cry, so then and it's clean, so you don't need hadacha. If it's yavish, if it's moist, so then you do need hadacha, because maybe you'll come to go ahead and you forget about it. You'll use the plate, whatever. You have to be sure there's some sort of something in place so you remember.
Is it just meat or any drugs?
Yeah, even vegetables. It's not even a treif plate.
Milk, you have to wash off.
Okay, milk is all check to wash off. So milk is milk. Nothing to do. I mean.
So you're saying in order to be able to use this, it has to be shtamish be'akrai, to be shivshuvto and double yavesh, and then it's not a problem. Otherwise, it's a problem.
Otherwise, yeah. Otherwise, if you put in. Right. Yeah. It's and the Chavos says the Chachili shouldn't use it because maybe it's like I said, stam it mixed up. You end up using it for regular things. But if it's cleaned well, and the thing is davar yavesh, so then yeah, you can put it. You can put it in the kli without hadacha. If it's moist, then it needs hadacha. If it's something which was used for roseach as blias iser, then or is used for constant tzonein, so then nothing's then you can't. Then it'll need hadacha, even if it's yavesh and it's something which is used for roseach, then you still need hadacha.
Is this irrespective of whether it's a ben yom or not?
It doesn't make a difference. It's gzera. It's gzera not to use treif kelim, basically. That's the point over here. Gimel tzarich lizar shlo yig. Obviously, if you put the meat into hadacha and you put it into something else, and echanami, it's not gonna treif out of it. The piece of meat's not treif. It's just it's gzera. You need to hadacha. It doesn't treif the piece of meat up. If it falls into you accidentally put in your cholent, it's not going to treif your cholent up. You don't need shishim. Or even bittul. I don't think you even need bittul. It's just this is a din l'chachila. Gimel tzarich lizar shelo yiga basar belechem. You have to be careful. You don't touch basar belechem. Shim yiga bo asur la'achlo im gvina. If you go, we're not talking about if you make a sandwich, obviously, but we're talking about that if you have a loaf of bread and you put. Let's say you start making meat sandwiches. No, I know I don't want, right? So you shouldn't do that because maybe you'll come to forget you put it. At least you shouldn't put it back in the package, or if it's obviously a challah right on the table and so you shouldn't put the chicken on it because maybe you'll forget and use it for French toast or something. You shouldn't have cheese touch yigo bo also la'achlo in basar. You can't eat this bread with meat. Unless you wash off the bread, which ruin it, but who knows? So therefore, so if a person, it's not talking about. We saw that before that if you ate a suda with with challah, whatever it is. So then you can't have that challah. You can't eat. You have to take care of that get rid of that challah. So if you have a whole,
including the challah that remains on the challah board.
so that already, if it's out, I think they say, and if it's on, if it sits out by the suda, the whole suda, then yeah, and the is a problem. If you take it off after motzi, whatever, so then it shouldn't be a problem, even if because people touch it, people that whatever, if it's sitting in the open, that's an issue. This adds, it's just, that's talking about you touching with your hand. This adds that you shouldn't even be careful not to have bus or touch it at all. Even you'll see, I'll cut that piece off, whatever. I'll just cut that piece off. You shouldn't do it because maybe you're going to forget. Again, like with the case before, you're going to forget and you're going to end up eating it. So it's like zera not to have it touch. You want to go ahead and make a sandwich, then and you decide not to make a sandwich. You got to put that bread away or whatever. You have to eat it, whatever, but you can't. That's it. You can't use it. You can't use. You shouldn't. It seems to be exer. You can't even use that bread anymore. No, if you put it, you can't put it. So if you put it aside, but if you touch it, you can't you leave it out or something like that because someone might come to use it. That's the thing.
You could cut off that section.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess if you cut off that, if you cut, I'm not. Yeah, it could be if you're setting like the case of it's suda. If you're in the kitchen, it could be it's different because you're in preparation. I'm not sure. I didn't see. You have to look into it. Dalid. So now we're gonna get into what happens if two pieces of meat and milk actually touch. If one's hot, too hot, whatever. So basar v'chalav reischim shenis arvi yachad. If you have basar and chalav, they're both hot. Hot meaning at least yatzaledis. Shenis arvi yachad they're they got mixed together. Feel basar tzon. That hakol, well, it's going to be ulcer, right? We're going to get into the din of tatagav and ilagav, and I'll explain it. It's a bit complicated. Just aleph is if they got mixed, if they were both hot and they got mixed together, a piece of hot meat fell into hot milk, even if it's not cooked together, then unless they're shishim, it becomes ulcer. If they're touching, so that you see in kofei that that might, if it depends. We're machmer for shishim because you say there's fat in it and it goes through and whatever. But if they're both hot, they both transfer taste in between each other, and it's even klisheni. We said earlier, klisheni is mavli or maflit, and we're machmer for that. Ramaz, we're machmer for klisheni. So anytime they're both hot, even if it's a klisheni, then it's going to be a problem. And now we're going to get into the dinim of tatagavar and ilagavar. What are these two dinim? There's a Rav and Shmuel. Do we say tatagavar ilagavar? If you have a piece of hot meat and a piece of cold meat, a piece of hot meat and a piece of treif, or we'll see milk. So the machlokes about if the cold one's on the bottom, if the hot one's on the bottom or the cold one's on the bottom. So Mandarma says the Hilal Gavar says that if the top one's hot, then it's going to overpower the cold one on the bottom, and it's going to make it also hot, and then it's going to be mavliya. It's going to be also, or opposite. If the top one's cold, if the top one's cold, then it cools off the bottom one. If the bottom one is so according to Mandarma Tata Gavar, the bottom one overpowers is that the bottom one's hot and the top one's cold and it falls on and it sits on top of it. Then it's going to go ahead and heat up the top one and ask everything on top. However, and we paskin tatagavar. However, I think it's shitas Rav. However, but we do say that if the bottom one's cold and the top one's hot, we don't say ilal gavar, but we still say adamaker lay bala. That if it, we'll see what that means. But the simple understanding is that since it cools it off, even though it cools, even though the bottom one's cold and it cools off the top one, But still, there's enough of heat transfer that it's going to aser kedei klipa. That they say the klipa of the klipa is literally the outside, like we saw by a fish. The scales is considered klipa. There's been it's just a simple outer layer. So you'd have to cut off the outer layer, and that would be mutter. Now I saw the kasha, the Plesi or Shulchan asked, what's this machlokes about? We said what's machlokes? We said just have it's a machlokes in mitzias. What? Check it. Get a kfela in. Like we said, kfela is a chef. Go to whatever. You call high school, whatever. I don't know, in LA, I don't know if he's still around. There was a famous place, Spago. He was like the top chef in LA. It was this famous place in Beverly Hills. I don't know what his name is. Anyway, so you go in and you tell him, you tell him, okay, try this, and is it good or not? So what's this machlokes? So there's different terutzim. Some say the machlokes is that it's either klipa it's you can't tell. It's just something he won't be able to tell klipa if there's real time in it, or that klipa is just xera. And the xera, he's not like we can't. He's not going to be able to tell you is it kosher or treif because we say that the question is it xera? Now we say that there is some sort of time there, but we're not sure, so you can't be mevaret. So that's where the machlokes is one where goes there klipa, klipa or not. Al-Qur'an or machmer that it goes through the whole thing. It's an unclear. It's a bit of an unclear situation. The other couple of questions. Well, let's read a little bit more. Vafilu basar tzonein l'sil chalav roseach. Even basar tzonein, cold meat, it falls into hot milk. Or chalav tzonein l'sil basar roseach, or cold milk which falls into that falls on. Soch is funny, but it falls on. Let's say maybe it's a large piece and there's a well. I don't know. It falls onto basar roseach, onto hot meat. A kol aser should the tagavar because the bottom one heats up the top. And again, and the Chachamim point out, but we only say that if it's Isser Atzmai, but if it's something which is Balua from Isser, we're not talking about, it's not a Basar Cholav, but if something, let's say it was just, we'll see later on in Klafei, if it's something which is Balua from the Vela or something, then that doesn't cause, the Blias don't cause the Talgavar. If you have hot milk which falls on cold meat, or basar roseach shenafal l'sol chalav tzonein, and you have a hot piece of meat that fell into cold milk. Kolif habasar, v'shar basar motor. Just you peel it off, and the rest of the basar is motor.
But the case of the hot meat falling into cold milk, all of the milk would be us.
No,
No?
if it's cold milk. Well, no. If it's no, because we say. Right, you need a klipa. Okay, we'll get to this in a second. You don't about the klipa. The klipa that the Ramah talks about. I just want to point out one other thing. Is that the Taz says there's two shatim and aramekele bala. What's maker? I mean, to cool off. There's a different shot. It means it's machrid yakar that it gives pressure, and the pressure of the top piece forces it will be mavliya a little bit of a klipa. See, my question is what's this case? What happens if since I didn't find it when it talks about it straight? Al-Qur'an, let's say a piece of hot meat falls into milk, and or the opposite for a second, or you have a piece of, let's say either case, let's say it bounces off, two pieces of meat, when it bounces off, is you gonna aser it? I don't know. Or if it falls into milk, you pull it out instantly, right? If cold meat falls into hot milk and you quickly pull it out, is there a shear or not? I didn't see anyone talk about it.
Similar issue by Hagala. How long does it have to be?
But that's here where I'm talking about klei klipa. I'm talking about would it aser klei klipa? Anachanami. I don't think it's going to aser. It's going to aser the whole thing if it bounces off of it. And it needs time to get it. As we say, the whole thing gets hot. Ask the, I don't know if it's a raw piece, a frozen piece of meat. Also, I don't know if it falls. I don't know if we have to see it or not. I don't know. If you have a frozen piece of meat that falls on a hot piece of meat, is that going to go ahead? Do we say that it's, well, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I didn't see anyone talk about this. So I'm not sure. Obviously, if you don't know, the suffix, if possible, be machmir, peel it. I don't know, whatever. But if not, I'm not sure. Just the idea, the maker, the idea of pressure is that if you say that something, it's two pieces of meat, one bounces off the other. That's not really giving pressure. It has to be something sitting on it. It's machbid, right? But I don't know. Because this is actually an uncommon shiloh. That you drop something in. Oh my God! You pull it out fast, and it's funny. I didn't see the place can talk about it straight. I'll try to look into it more. Well, Ubamakom, so the Ramah says Ubamakom Shabasar Tzarch Klipa, where the meat needs Klipa, Imlo Kafu, Bishlo Kach Mutter B'Diyeved, because we don't say that the Klipa is Nasis Nevela. We don't say the Klipa is Nasis Nevela, Taisa says it. And therefore, if the Klipa is lost, then we do say it's bottle in the rest. But Chalav Mutter Kula, but if the meat but in the milk is going to be mutter, because you say tata gavar, not ilah gavar. So if you have a cold piece of meat falls into hot milk, it's not going to be pulled into the other into the milk.
It's not the case. Hot meat falling into cold.
No, right. Hot meat can't fall into cold milk. Correct. In naflu zed l'sach zed tzadini mediach habasa or mutter. If you have a cold piece of meat falls into cold milk, then it's like the case before. You just need to wash it off. We'll see later on, if it's tzli, there's a whole, it has porous. There's different dinim, but the simple din is that you don't need to whatever. And the last question, we'll stop. The last question, I saw an interesting machlokas, Primagadim and the Chavos Das, about what do we say when we say it's tzonein. What if it's klisheni? Or what if it's or if it's hot, but it's in a klisheni? Do we say that that's called cold? That's called hot. Now I saw the Primagadim is mashma that's still called, because it's not going to cool it off. It has to be a cold that's going to possibly cool off the top. Even it's in the klisheni, that's not, even though it's technically not mavashel, but it's not mavashel, but it's still warm, so it's not going to cool it off. I saw the Chavos Das is machmir, and he says that the whole point of the Tal Nilan Gavar is not that it's mavashelit, but that it's mavliu mafli. And so even a klisheni, we say it transfers tam. So too, the whole question here is it transfers tam, not that it really cooks it. Enough also if you're over in the Isser of Vasha Bosa B'Cholov, Pashtas no. And so he said in a Chanami, he said it could be that he said it would be. He also says that it could be that this was what to talk about. Well, was one last point that, and he also, the Chavos Das points out, if you have a davar gush, we said generally we're machmer, like by Shabbos, whatever davar gush, you have from a kli rishon, it's a din of a kli rishon, it's just marshal. He said over here there's no reason to be machmer at all, and if you have, even if you want to say that the klisheni would be usher, if you have a hot piece of meat on a plate, and we wouldn't say tatal gover in any we wouldn't say tatal gover at all to be machmir in that case. Yeah, I knew. I told you. He called me.